courtroom doors swing open. The sound of heavy wooden hinges fills the air as silence falls across the benches. The family that millions once watched together on television now walks single file into a room so hostile that no camera crew could script it. This time the drama isn't staged. It isn't filmed in the warm corners of a shared living room. It is happening under oath, in front of a judge, and the outcome will determine whether the Browns remain a family or split apart into something none of them expected. At the center of it all sits Kody, his shoulders pulled back with a pride that tries to mask his unease. Across from him, his wives take their places. Christine folds her arms, her lips pressed tight. Janelle stares down at the desk as though replaying decisions that brought her here. Mary sits angled slightly away from the rest, her eyes unreadable. Robyn lowers her head, already in tears before a single word is spoken. They sit divided, not united, not one family. Every glance exchanged cuts sharper than words. This isn't family therapy, and it isn't a quiet disagreement inside a household. This is about control, betrayal, and one accusation that has the power to destroy everything. The judge clears his throat. The gallery stills. Christine is the first to rise. Her voice trembles but holds firm as she makes her accusation. The money wasn't missing. It was taken secretly by Kody and Robyn. We all trusted the family account, but somehow, when the rest of us went to use it, thousands were gone. The words land like a stone in water, rippling across every face in that room. Kody twists in his chair. Robyn quickly shakes her head, whispering into his arm. Mary closes her eyes. Janelle, the one most careful with finances for decades, looks like someone punched the air from her lungs. The court reporter's pen scratches furiously. The judge leans closer. Is this a financial dispute or, he pauses, a potential fraud case? His question means more than anyone wants to admit. If Christine wins here, this isn't only family business. This becomes the law's business. And here's the first retention boost line. What happens when a family fight turns into a legal war under oath? You know this is nowhere near the worst secret about to be revealed, Christine continues, her words precise, almost rehearsed. She explains missing transactions, withdrawals late at night, transfers into accounts not listed as family use. Her lawyer slides copies of bank statements onto the judge's desk. The numbers speak louder than anyone's voice. Robyn wipes her eyes. She finally raises her voice, shaking with anger. We did not steal. That account was always for emergencies. We used it to prepare for the family's future, because nobody else would act. Kody and I thought long-term while Christine only thought about herself. The courtroom gasps at the sharpness of her accusation. All eyes turn to Janelle, who finally lifts her head. Her voice is measured but firm, like someone who's rehearsed this aloud in sleepless nights. Robyn, stop! That money was not yours. We agreed years ago that account was for the children, for their safety, for their schools. If it's gone, then all of us have been betrayed. Kody throws his hands up from the defense table. Everyone here knows who sacrificed the most for this family. I worked harder than anyone. I carried the burden. So if something was withdrawn, it was for the good of everyone. It was mine to decide. His voice shakes the room. The judge bangs the gavel to quiet the eruption. Both sides now sit breathing hard, faces flushed, as decades of unspoken frustration boil through every sentence. The judge leans back, observing how much history fills this courtroom. Christine exhales sharply. Then tell us, Kody. If it was for the family, why didn't we know where it went? Why keep it secret? Her lawyer slides forward a single document. And why is the house deed signed only by you and Robyn, using funds taken without the other's consent? The papers land on the table. Robyn covers her mouth. Janelle's lips part but no sound escapes. Mary's hand drifts in front of her face like she is shielding herself from a breaking storm. Second retention booster line. Families hide secrets. But when documents are laid bare, silence becomes a confession. The judge calls for recess. What started as accusations of money missing has turned into an allegation of fraud, of betrayal tied directly to property deeds. This isn't a family spat. It's accusation after accusation, tied to proof that could alter financial futures forever. The hallway outside the courtroom is no less dramatic. Christine stands surrounded by notebooks and loose papers, her lawyer whispering strategy in her ear. They'll deny until the end, she mutters. But I'm not walking out of this building without the truth being known. Around another corner, Robyn weeps heavily, leaning against the stone wall with makeup streaking down her cheeks. "They want to make me the villain," she cries to Kody, gripping his sleeve. "Why is my loyalty always twisted? Why is everything I give turned into poison?" Kody clenches his fists, scanning the hallway. "Because they've resented us from the start. We're the easy target. But this family doesn't survive if I'm condemned in that chair." In the corner sits Janelle, quiet, eyes fixed not on the present chaos but on memories. She whispers to no one. "We saved, we planned, we trusted. And now the accounts are drained like they were nothing more than an ATM. Were all those years of promises fake?" Mary, as always, stands apart. She turns to a window, gazing at a sky made pale by courthouse glass. "This family once told the world we were one. But here we are, torn apart by pens and signatures. Maybe the cracks were always too wide to patch." The recess ends. Each face walks back into the heat of judgment, every step heavy with the knowledge the next word spoken might seal their futures. Third retention booster line. Everyone thinks the next witness will protect them, but the truth is about to cut deeper than any of them expect. The judge looks across the divided family as the clerk calls another witness. She is not a lawyer. She is not a stranger brought in to testify. She is someone who once shared the same kitchen, the same nightly prayers, the very same dinners. The gallery stirs with anticipation as she walks slowly toward the stand. Christine doesn't look surprised. Kody stiffens. Robyn's hand freezes mid-wipe across her cheek. Janelle's eyes follow every footstep as though she already knows what words are about to land like a hammer. Mary, resting her chin against her palm, keeps her face blank, but her knuckles grow pale. And then the witness raises her right hand, swears to tell the truth. The quiet in the courtroom feels heavy, pressing down on every listener. The judge speaks. "State your name for the record." The name echoes. It belongs to someone tied by blood. Not a wife, not a husband. A child of the Browns, now an adult, standing ready to testify against their own father. The courtroom gasps again, electricity crackling through the benches, as the family suddenly realizes this is no longer only about bank statements or deeds. This is about memory, truth, and betrayal told by the next generation. Fourth retention booster line. If you thought the family feud was intense, wait until you hear the words of a child who lived through all of it. The session ends here on that cliffhanger. The gallery leans forward. The child of the family, now grown, settles into the witness chair. The sound of the oath still rings in the courtroom, but what matters now is not formality. It's memory, lived experience. The air itself feels charged as everyone waits for the first question. The lawyer steps forward. "Please state your relationship to the defendants." The voice answers steadily, though with a faint tremor. "I am one of Kody Brown's children." Those words hit harder than any accusation. A child testifying against a father, under oath, carries a weight far greater than numbers or paperwork. The entire courtroom seems to shrink, all eyes fixed on the witness. Christine stares fiercely as if urging her to speak without fear. Robyn's eyes widen with disbelief. Kody sits stiff, lips pressed tight, jaw muscles twitching as if grinding back years of emotions he thought buried. The lawyer asks the first real question. "Can you describe what you saw that makes you believe the family funds were mishandled?" The witness takes a breath. "I saw transfers late at night, when we thought everyone was asleep. I saw arguments between my dad and Robyn when the money wasn't moving fast enough. And I remember being told, 'Don't repeat this to anyone.' But I was there. I know what was said. When someone breaks loyalty to speak truth, every secret in the room becomes dangerous. The words land like a torch to dry paper." Kody shifts angrily. "That's not true. You have no proof. You're twisting half-heard words from your childhood to make me look corrupt." The child steadies their voice even more. "I was not a child that night. I was old enough to know what I saw. You told Robyn the land would never belong to Christine or Janelle because you were investing in your future, not theirs. You said it right in that kitchen." The room explodes with reaction. Christine slams a hand on the desk, her face lit by vindication. "There it is. I told you all along." Janelle shakes her head slowly, tears forming at the corner of her eyes as pain replaces anger. Robyn gasps, covering her face in disbelief, murmuring words too low to make out. The judge pounds the gavel sharply. Order in this court." The walls of the room seem to vibrate under each strike. The lawyer lays down another exhibit, a printout of bank transfers matched to the dates the witness described. Circled numbers, highlighted sums, and the handwriting of initials matching Kody's. Christine's lawyer does not rush. He takes a measured tone. The witness has confirmed not only conversations, but behavior that coincides exactly with these transactions. This is no coincidence. Kody slams his hand against the table. Those were investments. Do you think a family survives off hope? I made decisions to protect us, not betray us. But his protests seem brittle now, words held together by force rather than conviction. Retention booster. The louder a denial becomes, the clearer the courtroom sees the cracks underneath. Robyn finally stands, tears flowing uncontrollably, her voice breaking. Stop dragging my name through this. I never wanted the money for myself. I wanted roots for my children. I wanted a home that was stable. Why do you all keep twisting this into theft? Why do you keep pointing at me like I'm the problem? Her voice shakes the gallery into silence. For a moment, her anguish fills the room. Even Janelle looks torn, sympathy flickering across her face despite her anger. But Christine remains unmoved, her focus sharp as a blade. Christine leans forward, speaking not to the court, but directly to Robyn. We trusted you. When nobody else believed in shared accounts, we trusted you. And you went behind closed doors to seal deeds in your name. How do you think any of us can believe you now? The witness exhales deeply. Their voice drops to a whisper that somehow carries louder than a shout. What I grew up watching wasn't one family. It was favorites. It was secrets. It was dad protecting one wife while the others paid the price. And I stayed quiet until now. But I can't stay quiet anymore. Every breath in the courtroom feels shallow as these words echo. A child turning against a parent, confessing years of mistrust, is heavier than any statement of number or deed. The judge finally looks to Kody. You may cross-examine the witness. Kody rises slowly. His face is flushed red, his hands trembling, but his voice comes out in a low growl at first, building into something jagged and sharp. You think you know what it takes to lead a family this size? You think I kept everyone alive by telling every single detail? You were a child. You don't know sacrifice. You don't know what it cost me. He glares directly at the witness. And if you're so sure about what you heard, then answer this. Why didn't you ever come to me? Why didn't you ever ask your father what was happening? The silence after that question is more deafening than the gavel. The witness's lips part slightly, trembling as emotion builds. Tears well in their eyes. Then, for the first time since taking the stand, their voice breaks. Because every time one of us questioned you, we paid the price. You made us feel small. You made us feel unwanted. I stayed silent not out of confusion, but out of fear. And I'm done being afraid of you. The courtroom audience stirs like a storm. Gasps, murmurs, and shaking heads ripple across the room. Christine lifts her chin high. Janelle places her face in her hands. Mary breathes deeply, her shoulders finally slumping as though she's hearing quietly spoken words she has long buried herself. Fear holds people quiet for years, but once someone finally speaks, silence loses its grip forever. The judge calls for order again, his voice thundering. If I cannot contain this courtroom, I will clear the gallery. But even his authority cannot fully erase the tremor of what's just been revealed. Kody lowers himself angrily back into his chair, eyes fixed on the floor. His entire body seems coiled, like a spring ready to snap. Robyn leans toward him, whispering urgently, but he does not respond. The witness wipes their face but remains seated firmly. I told the truth. Whether anyone here wants to admit it or not, I told the truth. The judge finally nods. You may step down for now. As the witness leaves the stand, every step echoes. The parents cannot bring themselves to meet their child's eyes. The silence between them contains a canyon deeper than any courtroom wall could show. But the case is not done. Evidence remains unspoken, and another voice waits for its turn. The attorney flips the next folder open, sliding long-forgotten contracts across the desk. Documents signed years earlier, always intended as promises of shared security, now carrying hints of betrayal. He glances toward the bench. Your Honor, the next witness will show the family document trail was altered, and who was involved in altering it. The gallery surges to life once again. If the child blew holes into Kody's defenses, The next witness promises to bring paperwork that could tear the argument apart completely. If a child's testimony shook the foundation, what happens when paper trails prove who was truly behind the scheme? The camera of narration pulls tight on the table. The document's still sealed, waiting to be revealed. Faces tighten. Christine whispers quick prayers under her breath. Janelle bites her lip, her mind racing through years of signatures and loans. Mary's hand grips the desk, cold with dread. Robyn holds her head so tightly in her hands it looks almost painful. Kody glares forward, unmoving, his mind somewhere between fury and collapse. The door opens. The next witness enters the room with a posture that already unsettles the family. Not a child, not a spouse. This time it's someone from outside the home, yet deeply connected to their finances. A former financial advisor, a name written on years of contracts and land agreements. The lawyer announces it clearly to the judge. We are calling a former advisor to the Brown family, someone who managed their accounts before the money went missing. The gallery shifts. This is no longer personal recollections or family memory. This is documentation. Cold, official, undeniable. The advisor takes the stand with a stack of binders and folders. His expression is firm, almost weary, as though he spent years waiting for this moment. He is sworn in. The lawyer wastes no time. In your role as financial advisor, did you see irregularities in the Browns' account? Irregularities tied to transfers logged under the names of Kody and Robyn Brown. The advisor nods once, slow and certain. Yes, I reviewed signatures. I reviewed timestamps, and I reviewed deeds signed in secrecy. The alterations were not collective. They were individual, and they benefited one household specifically. The courtroom freezes under the weight of those words. Christine closes her eyes. A single tear streaks down her cheek, not from surprise, but from vindication. Janelle's hands tremble openly on the table, her face locked in stunned disbelief. Mary turns her head, unable to look directly ahead. Robyn shakes her head violently. No, that's not true. You don't know the full context. Those documents were misunderstood, and you weren't even there for every conversation. Family decisions were made together. They were made with good intent. You're twisting everything. But the advisor's voice does not falter. I have the originals, and I have the revisions. And, Your Honor, the revisions show signatures that were not done at the same time as the other wives' signatures. They were added, altered, and filed separately. Kody slams his fist on the desk, rising with fury. His words cut sharp, raw. This family doesn't survive lawyers. This family doesn't survive courtrooms. You're all feeding into Christine's vendetta because she left and wants to punish us. When anger erupts louder than truth, the question becomes, what is he trying so desperately to hide? Christine shoots back instantly. This isn't a vendetta, Kody. This is the truth. You said we were equals. You promised us that every family member mattered the same. And now look. Look at what it led to. Secret deeds, slush funds. You robbed us in broad daylight while telling the cameras we were one. Her voice breaks as her lawyer gently steadies her shoulder. The courtroom energy rises like a storm swelling against its levees. The advisor methodically flips a page forward. Here, he points. Notice the shift in handwriting. The styles don't match. And these notarized lines? They were filed on dates when Christine and Janelle were out of state. These were not mutual filings. These were separate. Intentional, Mary whispers under her breath. Low, cracked, nearly inaudible. I thought it was just favoritism. I thought it was only about attention, but it went deeper. She raises her voice suddenly, startling even herself. You took everything from us, Kody, and you did it with her. She points to Robyn, her fingers shaking, her voice quivering with unleashing years of frustrated silence. Robyn gasps audibly, shoulders hunching as if physically hit by the words. Her sobs echo softly in the hall. Retention booster. Secrets once suspected are painful, but secrets confirmed can shatter people beyond repair. The judge, face hard as iron, finally speaks. If these documents show alterations without consent, we are stepping beyond family disagreements and into the territory of deliberate deceit. Robyn shakes her head again, desperate, disoriented, broken. This isn't what we meant. We wanted a safe home. We wanted protection. Why is our desire for stability treated like theft, silence? No one answers. Because every voice knows the line has been crossed. Intention matters, but so does execution. Promises were broken, words falsified, trust annihilated. The lawyer presses once more. You say it was for the family. Then tell this court. Why did you never disclose these alterations for over a decade? Why were the other wives kept blind? Robyn leans forward, voice breaking into deep sobs. Because if we told them, they would never have agreed. They would have stood in the way. We did what we had to for survival. Christine's chair scrapes loudly as she pushes back. For survival, you drained accounts built with my sweat. You drained funds meant for our kids. Don't dress that up as survival, it was betrayal. The advisor cuts across the rising voices once more. Your Honor, there is one more piece of evidence. A ledger handwritten by Kody himself. It records transfers that were never declared on joint filings. The gavel crashes against wood as the courtroom teeters on chaos. Retention booster. When the hidden ledger surfaces, the line between lies and truth erases itself. The advisor lifts the small notebook into full view. Its pages are worn, its ink smudged, but the handwriting is unmistakable. Everyone stares at it. Christine leans forward like it is proof of her salvation. Janelle freezes, lips moving silently as she calculates years of mistrust. Mary looks away, openly weeping now. Robyn shakes her head, mouthing no, no, again and again in disbelief. And Cody's lips flatten in silence. He does not deny it. He does not reach for the paper. He does not move. The lawyer slides it onto the judge's desk. Exhibit F, the private ledger of Kody Brown. The judge picks it up carefully, his brow furrowed, scanning the lines, lingering at the larger sums circled in bold strokes. The room is silent, and then the judge looks up. His voice is cold. Mr. Brown, I will require immediate explanation for these entries at our next hearing. The session ends. The binder closes. The gavel strikes once more. All rise and nobody in the courtroom speaks. As Kody walks out first, head forward, shoulders rigid, his wives remain behind, scattered in silence. Robyn presses a sleeve against her tear-stained face. Janelle grips her notebook like a lifeline. Christine folds her arms, refusing to look away from the ledger. Mary lingers last, her eyes hollow, her voice nearly fading as she whispers into the charged air. How much deeper does this go if you thought this ledger was the final piece? You'll need to stay because what comes next will rip open wounds nobody expected. And with that, Session 3 ends with the mysterious private ledger in evidence, a damning piece of proof hanging unanswered. The courtroom feels heavier now, as if the air itself refuses to move. Nobody speaks. Not the lawyers, not the judge, not the gallery, because the weight of the private ledger still lingers. Every page in that little book seemed to scream two truths at once. Betrayal covered in ink, and silence held together by fear. The Brown wives sit scattered, fractured. Christine locks her eyes on the table, frozen in her own anger and vindication. Janelle can't stop flipping through her own notes as though one more look could make sense of years of confusion. Robyn leans low, her face hidden against trembling hands. And Mary doesn't move at all. She looks like she's holding her breath, waiting to finally decide whether she's free or still trapped. The judge leans forward, calm but piercing. Mr. Brown, you will explain these ledger entries in detail at the next hearing. For now, I suggest counsel prepare their arguments accordingly. The gavel strikes. The echo rings like a nail hammered into wood. The break is declared. Christine rises first. She doesn't hide her fury. Her voice cuts across the stone hallway like a blade. I've waited years for this, years. He thought he could build the future behind closed doors, and we'd never see it. Now it's right there, in black and white, his own handwriting. Janelle follows, her voice low but sharp. I always assumed it was disorganization, that maybe he was careless. But no, it wasn't sloppy, it was deliberate. A system he built to funnel us out. Betrayal is easier to brush away when it's rumor, but when it's carved into paper, it becomes undeniable. Robyn stumbles out of the room next. She's sobbing so hard her body shakes. Her voice catches every other breath. This wasn't theft. This wasn't betrayal. We did what we had to so we could survive. Why won't anyone see that? Her cry isn't just desperation. It's isolation. And for a brief, flickering second, even Christine's face softens, the fury colliding with the recognition of real pain. But then Mary speaks, and her tone slices the air clean. She whispers at first, almost too soft to hear. "You knew." Everyone stops. Mary raises her head slowly. Her face is pale, but her eyes burn brighter than they ever have. She stands firm, finally unshaken. "You knew, Robyn. You knew what he was doing and you let it happen. You weren't a victim. You weren't trapped. You chose it. You locked arms with him and you left us behind. And I can't forgive that." Robyn looks at her in horror, broken wide open by the accusation. She shakes her head desperately. "That's not true. You don't understand. He said the family wouldn't survive unless we... Her voice trails off into sobs. Janelle presses forward, relentless. "Unless what, Robyn? What exact words did he use? Because we've all heard your excuses, but we've never heard his plan. Say it out loud." The hallway is silent, except for the faint hum of electricity in the courthouse lights. Robyn breathes fast, clutching her hands like she's holding her ribs together. Her voice is faint, but steady enough to be heard. "He told me that we were building a future without you, that the land, the homes, everything was meant for me and my children alone. He said the others would fall away eventually, and it was better to prepare now than later." The silence after her admission is suffocating. Christine gasps, raw fury flooding her cheeks. Janelle doubles over slightly, her breath escaping with a sound caught between a sob and a shout. Mary simply closes her eyes, a tear rolling down without her hand to stop it. When someone finally admits the plan, trust that was fragile shatters once and for all. The corridor transforms into a storm. Christine advances on Robyn, her voice snapping like a whip. "So you admit it? You stood by and watched him drain us? For what, Robyn? For a bigger house? For security while the rest of us bled?" Robyn shakes her head, her hands raised as if to shield herself. "You think this was easy for me? You think I didn't cry myself to sleep knowing what he promised you didn't matter anymore? You think I wanted to play favorites? I hated it, but I was terrified of losing him. Terrified of raising my kids with nothing. So I did what I thought was right." Her voice splinters on the last word, and the weight of her plea breaks something deep in the room. For a moment, the anger isn't directed entirely outward anymore. It becomes mixed with heartbreak, pity, and desperation. But the lawyer interrupts, carrying in new documents. His tone is firm, cutting across the rising emotional storm. "Your Honor, there is a further piece of evidence. These signatures, they weren't only added late, some were copied, forged." The word slices the air. Christine stares like she didn't dare even consider it. Janelle snaps her head up in shock. Robyn's mouth falls open. Kody remains silent still, like a man watching walls collapse around him brick by brick. The lawyer continues, his voice measured but merciless. "Forensic analysis of these documents shows that certain signatures appear duplicated, scanned or imitated. This was not just omission. This was alteration bordering on forgery." Gasps break from the gallery. Christine covers her face with both hands. Mary leans back, mouth agape as though struck physically. Janelle shakes her head wildly, muttering, "No, no. It's worse than I thought. Worse than anything we thought." Robyn lunges forward, her face red, her body shaking, with a scream torn from her throat. "That wasn't me! That wasn't me! I signed my name. I never forged anyone else's." Yet the words are drowned out by the weight of that accusation. The courtroom is no longer about betrayal or favoritism. It has entered the territory of crime, of deception recorded and copied onto legal documents. Retention booster. Betrayal is devastating. But the suggestion of forgery changes everything. This is no longer just a family feud. The judge remains silent, studying the documents. Kody finally raises his head with a hard expression carved across his face. For the first time in this entire trial, his voice comes not enraged or defensive, but flat. Cold. "You all think this ledger, these copies, prove betrayal. But they don't. They prove one thing only, that the family we built years ago, it stopped being real a long time ago." His words leave the air lifeless. No denial, no confession, just a striking wound of cold truth. The judge insists the matter will continue at the next hearing. The gavel drops. Everyone breathes shallow, unable to shake what's coming. As Christine collapses into her lawyer's chair, as Janelle whispers inaudibly, as Robyn screams into her sleeves, As Mary freezes like stone somewhere in the gallery, a new face stands. Someone not yet involved, not yet called. Someone holding yet another folder. A former employee. The clerk prepares to call the name. The family stirs nervously. If you thought the ledger was the worst evidence, wait until someone from outside the family steps forward with their own folder of secrets. The name is about to be read. The clerk clears his throat, his voice louder than the shuffling bodies in the gallery. The court calls a former employee of the Browns' financial office. Head snapped toward the back, searching. A woman steps forward, holding a large brown folder close to her chest. She is older, with a steady walk, the kind of presence that feels impossible to shake. For years, she was unseen, another figure balancing desks and ledgers in the background of the family's whirlwind. Now she walks center stage. Christine stiffens instantly. Recognition flickers across her face. Janelle leans in, whispering sharply, "That's her. She used to handle the property filing. I remember now." Mary doesn't whisper. She speaks the truth all at once, the one who caught things we ignored. As the witness takes the stand, Kody's face hardens into stone. Robyn's body shrinks slightly, as though already anticipating the weight of what's coming. The oath is sworn. The lawyer steps forward. "State your name and role in connection to the Brown family." The voice is calm, brisk. "My name is Ruth. I was employed as an assistant and records manager for the Browns during the period of their land acquisitions, property filings, and financial transfers." The lawyer nods slowly. "Did you observe any irregularities during your time in that position?" "Yes," repeatedly. The word lands sharp. Ruth opens her folder, sliding out photocopies, receipts, highlighted forms. She speaks in detail, but her voice carries the clear tension of someone who has carried secrets far too long. "I was instructed to process forms that were incomplete, sometimes in direct violation of agreed procedures," she testifies. "There were deeds filed without original co-signatures, pages sent late at night with the order to stamp them the next morning, signatures that appeared replicated, and every time I asked questions, I was told the decision came from Kody directly. Outsiders see what family refuses to admit. When the truth comes from both inside and outside, denial loses its shield." Christine's jaw drops open. She hits the table with her palm. "There, do you hear that?" It wasn't just us imagining patterns. This was happening in secret. Janelle shakes her head, covering her mouth, her lips trembling with anger contained only by shock. Mary exhales slowly, but her hand clutches the table so tightly her knuckles whiten. The lawyer directs Ruth carefully. "Do you have evidence you personally signed off on while feeling pressured by Mr. Brown or Mrs. Brown?" Ruth nods, sliding out one page at a time, her hand steady. "Here, a notarized copy. Date stamped 3 weeks after Christine's name should have been included. Kody told me not to ask. Robyn brought it in." Every word presses down like bricks stacking one over the other. Silent, immovable, undeniable. For the first time, Robyn doesn't deny. She collapses forward, tears spilling onto folded hands. Her voice trembles like a small child's whisper. "I didn't forge. I didn't, but yes. I brought the paper in, because he told me to." A gasp fills the courtroom. Christine points instantly, her voice shaking with rage. "So you admit it. You carried the betrayal like it was nothing." Robyn's sobs crack like glass. "I didn't want this. Do you think I wanted to be hated this long? Do you think I wanted to fight every single day for scraps of trust? I did what he told me because if I didn't, I was going to lose him." Her body crumbles over the desk. Her face is wet, raw, bare. The clerk has to remind the room to settle because half the gallery has leaned too far forward, caught in the storm. Retention booster. Love mixed with fear makes people complicit in ways they never thought possible. Is that devotion or betrayal? The judge leans closer, his tone sharp, his face unwavering. "Mrs. Brown, understand this is not about affections or loyalty. This hearing is moving toward legal consequences. Were you instructed or were you complicit?" Robyn doesn't answer right away. Her shoulders quake, her hands tremble. Finally, her lips part. Her voice is pained yet clear. "Both. He instructed me, and I chose to obey." The entire room stiffens. Nothing hangs heavier than admission. Kody turns his head, anger scorching his expression. "You throw me under the bus, Robyn. After all I gave you, you betray me now." Robyn's eyes don't leave the floor. "I can't carry your secrets anymore. The eruption feels like lightning. Christine smirks bitterly, tears still sparkling in her eyes. Janelle fixes her gaze hard on Kody, unblinking. Mary shakes her hand as though physically losing circulation. The court seems to wobble under the divide growing larger by the second. The judge raises his gavel but doesn't strike. This matter will go further. We have testimony and documents suggesting deliberate alterations. This court cannot ignore the severity. And then Ruth, the advisor, clears her throat again. There's something else. All eyes whip toward her. The judge narrows his gaze. Go on, she exhales heavily. There's an account. A separate account created under a trust name. Hidden from the family. Transactions point to it being tied to property purchases in Nevada. I did not include this at first because I was threatened. But I kept copies knowing one day I might need them. The courtroom gasps again. Christine grips the arms of her chair so tightly her fingers turn pale. Janelle whispers, Nevada? Another one? My God. Mary stares up at the ceiling, muttering something inaudible. The judge signals for order. Ruth opens her folder and reveals the copies of transactions, each page showing dates and large sums disappearing into a trust the wives never knew existed. When hidden accounts come to light, the question shifts from betrayal to survival. Who knew and who's telling the truth now? Kody closes his eyes, refuses to look at the papers, his lips curling in bitter defiance. But his silence only darkens the suspicion. The session draws its end as the gavel hovers. The judge speaks firmly, marking gravity in each word. This hearing grows with every revelation. I will not endanger the fairness by allowing chaos. Tomorrow we continue with further review of the hidden trust. Until then, court adjourned. He slams the gavel. The sound is final. Christine bolts from her chair, immediately followed by Janelle. Their voices ripple with anger but also with resolve. Both know tomorrow's testimony will decide their fates. Robyn doesn't move. She sits still, leaning forward, her face drenched in sobs. Mary stands slowly, lingering, watching everyone, eyes more hollow than ever, and Kody walks out alone. But as the crowd disperses, an unnoticed figure lingers by the gallery door. Someone holding a flash drive in their hand, clenched tightly, eyes fixed on the family like a hawk ready to strike. If paper trails were damning, digital evidence will burn hotter. The next session will bring something no one in the family can walk away from. The next day, the courtroom feels tense before the judge even enters. Unlike other mornings, the air is thicker, the whispers louder, and even the attorneys shuffle their papers slower than usual. Something has shifted. Everyone knows it. Christine sits rigid, posture sharp as if she hasn't slept. Janelle looks worn, dark circles beneath her eyes, her jaw locked in determination. Robyn sits draped forward, hair partially covering her tear-swollen eyes, her sleeve damp with tissues. Mary still, almost statuesque, looks far away, as though she's no longer in present time but sifting through years of choices. Kody walks in late. His stride is colder, measured. No smile hides his tension now. His hands grip folders tight against his chest. The gavel strikes. The session begins. The judge wastes no time. Bring forth the digital evidence. A man steps forward, not family this time, not even Ruth the advisor from yesterday. This is an IT specialist, a court-appointed analyst. His job is to unearth what most thought disappeared long ago. A small flash drive rests between his fingers like a ticking device. He plugs it in. The screen flickers to life, visible only to the judge and attorneys, but every word read aloud will scar the silence of the room. Emails, says the analyst, his monotone laced with authority. Hundreds of them, between Mr. Brown and Mrs. Brown, discussing accounts transferred into a hidden Nevada trust, and explicit instructions to keep these transfers away from the other spouse's knowledge. The room sucks in air all at once, like a single gasp from 30 throats. Christine's fingernails scrape against the table. Janelle presses both hands hard against her temples. Robyn exhales a sob that cracks the stillness. Mary doesn't move. She only whispers one word under her breath. Proof. Secrets assumed can still be denied, but secrets written in emails and stamped forever cannot be erased. The lawyer takes the floor. His voice is sharp, pacing steady as each example plays out. He reads aloud exact words from Kody's messages. Shift $25,000 to the trust immediately. Do not mention Christine or Janelle. Another. Land filing must proceed quietly. They'll never understand my vision. Christine bursts out, no longer silent. Vision, you mean your greed? Her voice pierces the quiet. You stole from our family and called it a vision? The judge hovers over the gavel but allows her words. They carry too much weight to silence. The analyst continues, his voice plain, unforgiving. Records also show logins tied directly to Robyn's IP address. Documents were uploaded from her home computer. That includes deed transfers and payment receipts linked to the Nevada Trust. Robyn covers her face completely, sobbing hard, sputtering between gasps. Her words are scattered. I only did it because he told me to. He said if I didn't, I'd lose everything. What was I supposed to do? Christine glares down at her. Janelle shakes her head, muttering bitterly. We all lost everything, Robyn. Don't you dare make yourself the victim. Kody slams his hand against the table. Enough. This isn't theft. This is leadership. I built a future when every one of you wanted to wallow in fear. You think those homes came from magic? You think security built itself? I was willing to do the ugly work, and now you punish me. His roar silences the gallery, but not because they agree. Retention booster. Leadership claimed without consent becomes tyranny. And in a courtroom, tyranny leaves a trail. The judge finally speaks, his tone sharp. This court will not tolerate shouting. Mr. Brown, you will remain composed. Mrs. Brown, he looks to Robyn. You will answer truthfully to your role in this. The evidence shows your direct involvement. Robyn breathes unevenly. Tears stream freely. Then finally she looks up, pale and broken, her words barely forming. Yes, I did it. I uploaded them. I approved them. I signed my name when I shouldn't have. But every time, I was told if I didn't, I wouldn't have a marriage anymore. I didn't want to lose him. I didn't want my kids abandoned. Her words shatter the silence like glass exploding. Christine stares at her, tears wetting her own cheeks now. So you sacrificed us. To keep him. Janelle leans back in her chair, tilting her head toward the ceiling, whispering as though to herself. How many years wasted? How many lies lived in broad daylight? Mary sits stone still, then speaks suddenly, her voice louder than the rest. We built this family on promises. Trust. Faith, truth. And now look, we're sitting in front of a judge with emails telling the world we were fools. Maybe we always were. The gavel slams again. The judge turns directly to Kody. Mr. Brown, you will account for these emails. Were they yours? Kody doesn't hesitate, though his jaw is set tight enough to crack teeth. He nods. Yes, they were mine. Every one of them. But don't twist this. Those words were strategy, not theft. The family was never going to stay whole. I prepared for the break, and I prepared for survival. The iciness of his admission damns him darker than denial ever would have. When the accused stops denying and starts justifying, you know the walls are closing in. Christine sobs openly now, her voice rising past fury into despair. Do you hear yourself, Kody? You were preparing for us to fall apart, while we were breaking ourselves trying to hold it together. Every sacrifice we made, every tear, every hurt, while you sat in secret planning who got left behind. The gallery fidgets. Tears are visible in strangers' eyes too. The air weighs like lead, but the analyst isn't finished. He slides another folder onto the desk. One more piece of evidence. Bank statements tied to the Nevada Trust show a final transfer, 1 week before this trial began. All eyes turn sharp toward Kody. The analyst continues. Nearly $200,000. Gasps erupt again. Christine slams her fist on the desk. Janelle chokes back a sob. Mary whispers, even now? While we sit here? Robyn falls into uncontrollable cries. Kody doesn't flinch. He sits tall, shoulders straight, his face eerily calm. The judge leans in with measured threat creeping into his words. If those funds were transferred during active litigation, you may have committed financial misconduct far beyond the boundaries of this case. The weight in the room collapses. The trial is no longer about betrayal alone. It is about criminal possibility. Christine's voice rises one last time. So after all this, you still drained us even as we sat here telling the truth? The gavel slams once more. The judge's voice roars over the chaos. Enough. This session is adjourned until further evidence is presented. Tomorrow we address the Nevada Trust in full. Court dismissed. If everything so far was shocking, the Nevada Trust will explode the courtroom into something it may not survive. The wives scatter in chaos. Christine rushes out, Janelle pacing fast behind her. Mary remains seated, her arms crossed tightly, her face unreadable, but her tears finally breaking. Robyn sobs uncontrollably, curled inward, and Kody, he walks out alone, expression flat, as though he's already let go of everyone behind him. Except this time, officers walk out behind him. Watching closely,